So we have the completion of the 10-20 turn of Austerlitz. Let's go ahead and recap and see where we stand. As is our normal approach, we start down in Telnitz, and we see not a lot of motion here, other than my shaky hand. The Austrians are basically just skirmishing, pot shots at the French. No real effective attack on the town. They have some routed cavalry back here recovering, as well as a Panzer battalion with Kienmayer himself recovering far back in the trees. So they've been very ineffective. I think that's due to the poor command decision to weaken the left flank. The first column under Doktorov has had slightly better luck. They have been pretty effective in their fires, starting to grind down Legrand's division here. But most importantly, they have begun to make inroads into Sokolnitz in the north, as well as the Pheasantry here. We have basically 4 regiments stacked up, ready to go. The 4th Dragoon Division here is in kind of a tough spot. They were thinking about trying to get around the bend, get on the flank out in this open area. Before they could get there, this large mass of Russian infantry has arrived. So it's going to be a real quandary as to how to proceed. They don't want to just keep marching around the Pheasantry and leave a wide open gap. They're likely going to have to get into a position to try to charge or opportunity charge some of those Russian infantry as they make their way through the town. I'm going farther to the north, to the more central position. We see Lannes' second column. And not a lot of French. Got those 3 French battalions right there, engaged with some Russian battalions. See, the giant St. Petersburg Dragoon Regiment has recovered after single-handedly capturing an entire French battalion. 4 more French battalions are routed in the trees. So Saint-Hilaire's division is basically wrecked. There's virtually nothing left to fight with. So they're going to have to make a run for it, I think. Try to rally those troops back behind them and maybe fall back to Puntowitz if they can. You see the French have, the coalition have just opened a huge gap and are going to either cut off or otherwise destroy the French position there. They have been very effective about getting their guns into play. See 3 companies of artillery, and all of them played havoc on the French in this turn. Moving a little further to the north, we see the 3rd column. Not quite as well off as Lannes, but still made some good headway, put some strong fire, both artillery and musketry, and have pushed back several of the French battalions. The French are in much better position to try to shore up that line, even offer assistance to the other division. But otherwise, the French are in bad shape. Soult's corps is their strongest in terms of the position for this fight, and they are having a hard time of it. We see those dragoons similar to the 4th Division. The 3rd kind of doesn't have a good opening to attack. They might need to swing around Puntowitz over there, try to get around the 2nd column, coalition 2nd column, and see if they can stem the tide. Going back to the Protestant Heights, we see basically just the arrival and the deployment of the 4th column. Not everyone is deployed, not all the guns are in place, but largely they have achieved their goal, which is to be a rock in the center. Uvarov's division is sort of streaming out, having been virtually trapped around Jerzikowitz. But they did manage to extricate themselves, but they did incur a couple of casualties, which they may regret when the fighting really takes shape here on this plain. You see Bernadotte, the guard with Napoleon, Dumas making his way over to Soult to take over St. Hilaire's 1st Division. Basically, Bernadotte is now the savior. He has a fresh corps. He has to get involved pretty darn quickly to try to disrupt the coalition's position there in the center. Now going to the north, to Lannes and Bagration, we'll find that the north for the coalition is in much weaker shape. We see the French basically have a good, strong position across, very sparsely held. The Russians were unable to pull back because they could not get their guns limbered enough out of the way. So they held on this turn, but it cost them. This entire, this gap along the road here is huge, and of course the French are poised to pour right down it this next turn. The Russian cavalry is here on the right side of the road. They're going to have to probably scramble to cover that gap in the next turn. Murat is well positioned to keep them from doing so. If he can engage them, he can keep them from reacting the way they want to. The final arrival is Oudinot's division of grenadiers, and they may or be diverted to the main center battlefield. We'll have to see what the best use of their power is. The French in the north are looking pretty strong, so sending them down south to the center to shore up these broken lines might be the best approach. Trouble is they're a very long way away. So the next turn should see strong attacks here in the center and likely here in Sokolnitz in the Pheasantry. The French will be hard-pressed to hold on in both areas.